there, what are the basic concepts are there. Then we'll try to see few important points like a or few important things which you can remember even like a shortcut formula also. And on what basis questions will come, all those things we will try to understand. Now the very first thing if you consider here, if you see there are three laws, Newton's first law, second law and third law. So when you consider first law, Newton's first law says if there is no external force, if the external force acting on a system is zero, the acceleration is zero. So which is nothing but you can conclude that velocity is zero or velocity is constant. That is the Newton's first law. Next, when you consider Newton's second law, the resultant or net force acting on a body is nothing but rate of change of linear momentum dp by dt, where linear momentum is equal to mass into velocity. If you take it, then this is the equation. But here the questions comes based on two things, that is with a condition velocity constant, with a condition mass constant. When velocity constant dv by dt 0, then formula will become v dm by dt. That we call it as variable mass system. And another one is if mass is constant, so m dv by dt, that means mass into acceleration. So based on this, questions can come. Based on change in linear momentum, they can ask question. Based on force acting on the system, they can ask question. Based on acceleration, they can ask question. After that, Newton's third law. When you consider Newton's third law, of course, it is a very simple law. And we all knew that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And that action and reaction pair is always such that equal in magnitude, opposite in direction, and they act on two different bodies and they act simultaneously, but they never cancel each other. So these are the three definitions of laws of motion. So based on which a basic question can come based on the definitions. Now afterwards, the next thing based on which the question can come is law of conservation of linear momentum. For any system, if the external force is zero, that means dp by dt is zero. When dp by dt is zero, as differentiation is zero, the term p remains constant. So linear momentum remains constant if the external force on the system is zero. That is what we call it as conservation of linear momentum, law of conservation of linear momentum. Now, here, the next thing, when a force acts on a body, the linear momentum changes. Now, when you consider impulse, that is also nothing but change in linear momentum, but that is like so the impulse is nothing but when a large force acts on a body, then there is a change in linear momentum, and that change in linear momentum is called impulse, which also you can find integration FDT or area below the force versus time graph. That is what you have to get it, and based on that question can come. And afterwards, one more concept, one more formula is based on pseudo force. So what is pseudo force? When a frame is moving with some acceleration and the particle is attached to that frame such that the frame is moving with some acceleration, then we say that that is non-inertial frame. Then the body attached to the non-inertial frame experiences force, and that force we call it as pseudo force, and that pseudo force is equal to mass into acceleration. So where A is acceleration of frame, m is mass of the body. And here we get questions based on two things, that is when a person is traveling or standing in a moving lift. So here you need to understand that when the lift is accelerating down, so acceleration is down, or decelerating up, then also acceleration is down. In both the situation, apparent weight will become m into g minus a. That is the apparent weight. Now, similar way when you consider the lift is decelerating down. It is decelerating but going down. So acceleration is up and accelerating up. Then also acceleration is upward. Then the apparent weight will become m into g plus a. So based on this apparent weight of your body in a moving lift, in an accelerating lift, they can ask the question. And next kind of question what they can ask here in the entrance point of view is equilibrium. What is equilibrium of a system? When you consider a system, first you have to choose x-axis, horizontal as x-axis, vertical as y-axis. And if there are number of forces acting, take their components, divide them, resolve them such that all the force components must be balanced along x-axis as well as y-axis. So then we say that the system is in equilibrium. That is what? Equilibrium of a system, where you can use this mathematical rule, Lami's theorem. If three forces are acting at an angles alpha, beta, gamma as shown, then you can use this relation which is called Lami's theorem. Or without using that, you can go for resolution along x-axis and y-axis. And you can balance x-axis and you can balance y-axis separately. That way also you can do the questions. Now afterwards, they'll ask you what is the acceleration of a particular system, connecting bodies or contact bodies. Like the first system is Atwood's machine, where two masses attached with a string which is passing over a pulley, where the masses are m1 and m2. Then acceleration of the system is m2 minus m1 into g by m1 plus m2, and tension in this is this one. Where how do you make it? When you want to solve these questions, you have to take any one particle first and represent the forces like m2g and tension upward. Then take x-axis as direction of motion, perpendicular as y-axis. Then divide the forces into components along x and y-axis. And always y direction must be balanced, and along x-axis nothing but along direction of motion. You have to make the equation that resultant force equal to mass into acceleration. Like that you have to make one equation for m2 and you have to make another equation for m1, then you will get this. Otherwise you can take simply one shortcut formula, that is total weight going down minus total weight going up divided by total mass. That is what m2g minus m1g by m1 plus m2. Or here the both particles are moving vertically. In some system they may move horizontally, they move on inclined plane. Like here beside one more system is there where m2 is moving vertically but m1 is moving horizontally. As both connected with a string, same tension will act on both of them and they cover same distance in same time, so that their acceleration also must be same, and that acceleration is total pulling force. How much? The total weight going down is m2g minus total weight going up. Here no weight is going up, that's why that is 0. So minus 0 by total mass m1 plus m2. So this way you can get the question. More systems are there. So two more systems. Here if you consider two particles are moving vertically, one particle is moving horizontally. Here also same thing. Total weight going down. What is that weight that is going down? m1g minus what is the weight that is going up? m2g. So m1 minus m2g by total mass is what? m1 plus m2 plus m. So this is the acceleration. If you want to find the tension, then either you have to take m1 or you have to take m2 and you have to make the free body diagram. What is the free body diagram? Represent all the forces, choose direction of motion as x-axis, perpendicular as y-axis, divide all the forces into components along x and y and balance y direction, and write the equation of motion for x direction. That is resultant force equal to mass into acceleration. Similarly, if the body is traveling on inclined surface, see here like this, one is moving vertically, one is moving on inclined plane, then its weight component will act along the incline. That is, how much it will act? That is mg sin theta. Here m2g sin theta. So instead of taking mg, if the body is on inclined surface, we will take mg sin theta. If it is going up, then plus. If it is going up, minus. If it is going down, then plus. Same thing. Total weight going down to minus total weight going up. But here, as the body is on inclined plane, you should not take total weight. You have to take the weight component that is along the inclined surface. Now, if you consider the bodies which are in contact are connected along the horizontal like this. See, the acceleration is total pulling force by total mass. And tension at any point means mass that is pulled by that point. Suppose here tension means total mass pulled by that point. That means M1 plus M2 into A. So that's why here T2 is M1 plus M2 into A. But T1 means it is pulling only M1, so M1 into A. But if the bodies are kept in, suppose, contact, then normal reaction will come, tension will not come. And at any point, tension means mass pushed by that point into acceleration. That's why here normal reaction is M3 into A. Here normal reaction is M2 plus M3 into A. That is what the normal reaction. So they can ask the question based on bodies connected with strings, or they can ask questions based on the bodies kept in contact. That is what you need to understand. Now, afterwards, you need to understand one more force, that is frictional force. So what is frictional force? Frictional force nothing but an opposition offered by the rough surface to the motion. It try to prevent the motion first. If not, at least try to oppose the motion. That is the nature of rough surface, and that nature only we call it as friction, and the opposition force developed due to this nature is called frictional force. And as long as the body remains at rest, even though you are applying external force, then the body remains at rest and the friction developed is called static frictional force. So the static friction will increase up to some maximum value. So when F is less than that maximum value, then friction value is static friction, and that is equal to the external force acting. And once the external force reaches the value Fs max, limiting static friction, then the body ready to move. Then once the body come into motion, static friction vanishes and kinetic friction comes into picture. And if you compare both the frictional values, kinetic friction is always less than static or limiting static friction. So this is all about the basic idea, basic formulas and basic concepts based on which questions can come, and what are all the important formulas you need to remember to solve any question based on the laws of motion related to CET or NEET level of questions. Now, one more thing. Motion on rough horizontal surface. Suppose a body is moving on rough surface. The very first thing is stopping distance. They can ask question based on stopping distance. So what is stopping distance? So stopping distance means that is nothing but when you give some velocity, initial velocity you have given u. So as you have given some velocity, due to friction, there is a deceleration, that is minus mu g, so that it will come to rest after covering some distance. And that distance is given by S equal to u square by 2 mu g. That is the stopping distance, the distance covered by the body before coming to rest. That is what we call it as stopping distance. Now, another thing, if there is a body kept on the rough surface and a force acting which is greater than static limiting friction, then acceleration is this much. But this is the case when external force is acting along the horizontal. But there also they can ask that you can apply force at some angle, either pulling force or pushing force. If you take, then you will take the components like F cos theta and here F sin theta. Same thing here also. This is F cos theta, this is F sin theta. But what is the difference in both the cases? See, acceleration is same, F cos theta, F minus Fk. But here in first case, F sin theta is up. So the normal reaction is mg minus F sin theta. But in second case, f sin theta is downward, so normal reaction is mg plus f sin theta. So in second case, in case of pushing, normal reaction more, so friction is more. So that's why pushing is harder than pulling. So pulling is easier than pushing. That is what the conclusion here I have made. And they can ask what is the acceleration in case of pulling, what is the acceleration in case of pushing. Such kind of questions also they can ask you. And two more definitions also important. In case of horizontal surface, if there is a horizontal rough surface and a body kept it, and one force normal reaction and another force frictional force, and the resultant is called contact force, and the contact force makes an angle with normal reaction, that we call it as angle of friction. Let's take alpha here. Alpha is angle of friction. Angle between, sorry, not with normal reaction, with frictional force. So that is the angle of friction. Similarly, if you consider an inclined surface, when there is an inclined surface, then for the minimum angle for which the body kept on the rough inclined surface ready to move, that minimum angle we call it as angle of repose. If the angle is less than that value, then the body remains at rest. If the angle is equal or greater than that minimum value, then the body slides down even though the surface is rough, and that we call it as angle of repose. Now, block upon block. So just remember the formulas in this case. That is, when there is a block upon block, first consider lower block as capital M, upper block as small m, and they can give the question such a way that there is a force acting either on upper block or on lower block. So here how the questions will come. So you need to understand that in first case and in second case, there is a maximum force you can apply where both will move together. See, in both the cases, when they are moving together, if they are moving together, then what is the acceleration will become? Acceleration will become resultant force by total mass, F by m plus m. So that is what acceleration. So acceleration of the particle or system, which is common for both of them. Now here, what I am telling is, when you apply force up to some maximum force, you can apply so that they move together. And that maximum value, see, in case 1 is this one, and in case 2, it is this one. So if F is greater than F maximum, they move independently. If F is less than F max, they move together and the common acceleration is this. And if they move independently, then these are the formulas for acceleration of A and B separately in both the cases. In case 1 and in case 2, or in case A and case B. So remember what is the maximum force we can apply so that they move together. And if the external force is whether greater or equal, you need to first check. Then you have to conclude whether they move together or independently. Accordingly, you should use the formulas. That is what the block upon block case. Then circular motion. So when you consider circular motion, here first thing I will tell you, if there is a particle moving in a circular path, so the one thing that is, there must be one acceleration towards center, that is called centripetal or radial acceleration. At any point it is given by v square by r, where r is radius and v is the tangential speed at that point. As speed changes, acceleration also changes. But this is compulsory or mandatory acceleration or necessary acceleration. But apart from that, there may be one more acceleration, either in the direction of velocity or in the opposite direction. That is called tangential acceleration, AT. So AT may be in the direction of velocity or may be in the opposite direction. If it is in the direction of velocity, speed increases. If it is in the opposite direction, then speed decreases. That is what the acceleration and speed relation. And here the tangential acceleration means rate of change in the tangential speed dv by dt. So that, see here, for every particle in circular motion, there is one angular set of quantities and there is one linear set of quantities, and the relation between them is this one. There is one linear acceleration, there is one angular acceleration. There is one linear velocity, there is one angular velocity, and there is a relation between those quantities also. So you need to remember, and for every circular motion, there is one external force acts towards the center, that is called centripetal force, and equal amount of force will act outward, that is centrifugal force or pseudo force, and whose magnitude is given by mv square by r. That is what? The centripetal and centrifugal force. Now, afterwards, here, based on this circular motion, two things will come, that when there is a circular turning, when there is a circular turning and a vehicle is taking turn whose radius of curvature is r. If it is horizontal, or sometimes we make the road at some angle called banking of angle, such that at one side the road is at low level and at outer side the road is at high level, and that we call it as banking of roads. In both the conditions, we have the formula for what is the maximum speed with which we can take safest turn, that is V maximum. And in case of banking of roads, the formula is this one. In case of horizontal road, this is the formula. And in the same way, if you neglect the friction in case of banking of angle, and this is the formula. And most of the time they will ask question based on this formula only. And same case, same kind of formula will come when you take bending of bicycle or bike. When you are trying to take turn, you have to bend the cycle or motorcycle. Then only you can take safe turn. Otherwise, you will go straight. You cannot take turn. And with what angle you should bend the bicycle? That is tan theta equal to V square by Rg. But in case of banking of roads, theta is with horizontal. What should be the angle made by the road? But here tan theta means the angle made by the vertical. So we are straight, we are vertical. Now you should bend like this or like this. So you will bend by some angle to take safe turn. That is what? Theta. So based on all these things, questions can come. So try to remember each and every formula, try to understand each and everything. Let's see few more important points based on which questions mean same thing, but here we will take it like a formulas. So try to remember each and everything like a formula, shortcut formula, or try to understand, try to solve on your own. Like force on a perfectly reflecting surface, if particles each of mass m strikes normally with velocity v, then F equal to 2mnv, where n is number of particles per second. That means here one particle is hitting and reflecting back. So that means initial linear momentum mv, final linear momentum also mv, but opposite direction. So mv minus of minus mv, 2mv. But n particles are hitting. So n into 2mv, 2mnv. That is the total change in linear momentum per second. That's why the force is change in linear momentum by time 1 second. So this is the amount of force. Now a ball released from a height h1. So with what velocity it will hit the ground? Root 2gh1. And it strikes and it went to h2 height again, not to the same height. Then with what velocity it will go up? Root 2gh2. So what is the change in velocity? Change in linear momentum. Here m into then v minus u will become. So, but here v plus u it will become. Why? Because it is coming down, hitting and going up, opposite direction. So change means v minus u. But minus of minus, what happens? Plus. So that is what? This is initial velocity, this is final velocity. Similarly, remember this formula also. If water is coming out of a pipe or jet and hitting a wall and it is not reflecting, means the force on the wall is this. If it is reflecting back, means this one. So based on this also questions can come. So please try to remember it. Now just before we have seen, when n bullets, n particles are hitting a surface and reflecting back, then the total change in linear momentum is 2mnv. And in a time t means t. So this is the total force experienced. Now it is in air and you are hitting n particles per second. So the total force experienced is this much, then that will act upward. If that can be balanced by mg, then you can find the equation questions based on that. That is balancing a plate, metal plate or disc in air with the help of bullets or hitting the particles with some momentum. So that is the question. Similarly, force required to stop a car, stopping distance already we have seen. So there we have taken acceleration. Here force means mass into acceleration, or you can apply v square minus u square equal to 2as formula. Then you will get acceleration. Then force equal to mass into acceleration. And here a force F1 acts on a body at rest for time t1. Then force F2 brings the body to rest. It is the case like first acceleration, then deceleration. So started from rest, first velocity increase, then decelerated and finally come to rest. So what is the equation will come? F1 T1 equal to F2 T2. And this is also one important model. So please try to solve on your own. I'll just explain you. A balloon is moving down with some acceleration. That means what? Balloon is having some weight and there is some air friction. So it is coming down means mg minus r equal to ma. But now you have to remove some mass from the balloon so that it should move up with same acceleration. Let's take now the mass is m minus m. Small m I removed. Then it is going up means r and downward m minus mg. Now the equation will become r minus of m minus m into g equal to m minus m into a. So the another acceleration, same acceleration, but with a different case. So while coming down, its mass was m. After removing some mass, it is going up. So accordingly, you should make the equation. And if you solve it, you will get this equation. Now, in case of blocks connected, see this already we have seen already. What is the acceleration? Total force by total mass, and tension at any point is total mass pulled by that point into common acceleration. Normal reaction case means total mass pushed by that point into acceleration. And for vertically moving system also it said total force along the direction of motion minus total force in the direction of motion by total mass. And if the particle is moving vertically, how to take? If the particle is moving on inclined plane, how to take? Mg sin theta you have to take. So these all things we have discussed already. Now, here, see, if there is a system in equilibrium like this, like one block upon the other one, or one block suspended from the other one, then tension at any point means the total weight hanging from that point. Here tension means this weight, here tension means this weight, here tension means these three weights. But here normal reaction means, total weight above it, here total weight below it, here total weight above it. Here normal reaction means total weight above this point. So that is the difference between the case of tension and normal reaction when the system is in equilibrium. And very rare cases, they may use to give the question where here the bodies are attached with the string such that they have different acceleration. See here, here tension T, here tension T, here tension T, but here 2T. So where tension is lesser, their acceleration more. Where tension is more, their acceleration is lesser. That's why here the formula is actually T1 A1 plus T2 A2 equal to 0. So that's why what relation will come? A1 equal to 2A2. So here I have shown two examples. Just try to understand. That is called tension method, where the algebraic sum of product of tension and acceleration must be 0. Summation of tension and acceleration. Now, this is one important condition based on non-inertial frame. That is, usually if there is an inclined plane and if you keep a block, then it will move down with an acceleration g sin theta. If the surface is rough, then the acceleration is g into sin theta minus mu cos theta. But even though if it is smooth surface, if you give some acceleration, still this can be remain at rest because of pseudo force acts on it. And that condition is the acceleration of the wedge must be equal to g tan theta. and the force acting on the system must to be equal to m plus m into g tan theta. So such kind of questions also will come. This is also same thing. Here they are telling force, here they are telling acceleration. But here there is a small difference. Here the block should remain at rest, but here in this case the block should lose the contact with the surface. So what condition we will take? The acceleration of the wedge is such that the pseudo force magnitude is such that this should lose the contact. That means normal reaction will become 0. So if you take the condition A equal to what will come? G cot theta. Now, see here, a bomb at rest explodes into two parts. See, when there is a bomb initially at rest, what is the initial linear momentum will become? 0. What should be the final linear momentum also? 0. Such that they should move. That means final linear momentum, one part is m, another part is capital M minus small m, such that their linear momentum must be equal and opposite. That's why you can get the question based on that. This is the case called explosion based questions. They may ask the question like the bomb may be exploded into three parts also, where what you have to apply exactly is conservation of linear momentum principle. Then you can try to solve the question based on that. Now, a trolley of mass m moving with acceleration a and does not slide down. Here also same thing. See, it should not move such that a force P should act means what? Here, the normal reaction will develop because of pseudo force. This side normal reaction and this side pseudo force, and the normal reaction is equal to ma. So where acceleration is P by m plus m, and here along the vertical direction, so there is a friction upward, there is a mg, and it should not fall down means mg should be less than or equal to limiting static friction. Then only the block remains at rest. And similar kind of condition will come in case of this. There is a cylindrical body or a drum inside which a body is kept in contact with the walls of the cylinder and rotating with an angular velocity. Then here the pseudo force is equal to normal reaction. Again upward friction must be greater than or equal to mg. Same condition will come. So that here the omega condition you will get. Here mr omega square nothing but the pseudo force mv square by r, nothing but mr omega square, because v equal to r omega. Now afterwards a bullet of mass m strikes a block of m horizontally omega velocity u and gets embedded in it. The distance covered before coming to rest, nothing but the stopping distance only. Just try to understand. See, bullet is coming and strike the mass means that momentum will be transferred to the whole system. It's like a inelastic collision type. So then you consider the final velocity of the combined system is capital V. Then take conservation of linear momentum. Then you will get the combined mass velocity, this one. And with this velocity, it will travel some distance and come to rest. And that is called stopping distance. That is u square by 2 mu g. That is what this formula. So two concepts they combined here. These are all not like a points. These are all numericals. But I have given like a shortcut formulas and is well-known or familiar situations based on which usually they used to ask questions. And here, if the surface is vertical and one block kept a contact and you are trying to press it such that it should not fall down, means again same condition. There the mg should be less than or equal to limiting friction, again same condition. But here no rotation, only the normal reaction will develop because of your external force. Now to prevent the block to slide down, here also same thing again. Earlier we have seen the block was front, here now it is this side, other side, but the condition is again same. See here mg less than or equal to mu sn. Now here see, if theta less than alpha, where alpha angle of repose, already we discussed angle of repose means that is the minimum angle for which the body ready to move. If angle of inclination is less than that angle of repose here, then the body will not move, it is remaining at rest, then downward mg sin theta must be balanced by upward static friction. That's why static friction value equal to mg sin theta. But actually the maximum limiting friction at any point is mu s n, where n in this case is mg cos theta, because inclined plane means n is equal to how much here? Mg cos theta. And if theta greater than alpha, then what happens? The body starts sliding down, and there it will have some acceleration. So acceleration on rough inclined surface is this much. So they can ask you the question, what is the time taken to slide down? And what is the velocity on reaching the bottom? Such kind of question they can ask you. Just try to understand. Now, if theta less than alpha, then what happens? The body remains at rest. Then you need to apply some external force to move it. Now here force needed along incline to move it downwards. That means, see here, there is an inclined plane and block is rest. Now you apply some force downward so that it should move downward. Then friction will act which direction? Upward. Already mg sin theta is acting down. You are applying some external force so that it should move down. And then this is the condition. So that is the way you have to understand. Now, if a block is given an additional initial speed u upward, now the question is different. See here. Now, suppose there is an inclined plane. Now at the bottom you have given some velocity u, rough inclined plane, so that it moves upward along the inclined plane, then it decelerates with while coming down. While it is going up, see here, as it is going up, mg sin theta obviously will act down, but as it is going up, friction also will act down, so that the resultant force will become now mg sin theta plus mu mg cos theta. So that the deceleration will become resultant force by mass. So mass cancel. So this is the deceleration. So deceleration means actually here what should come? Minus should come. But I have written only magnitude. And if theta greater than alpha, then the body will come down obviously. Then you can apply some force to remain at rest, make it at rest. See, now the angle is sufficient so that is coming down. Now you apply some force upward such that you can stop it. Then how much force you need to apply is this one. So like that, lot of situations they will create based on the same thing. Same situation, block on rough inclined surface. So whether it is moving or not, if it is moving, how can you increase it? If it is moving, how can you stop it? If it is not moving, then how can you move it? Such kind of all questions they used to ask. So please try to understand. Now, here again one more condition, theta greater than alpha. The block will come down after reaching the highest point if time of descent is n times as time of ascent. See, so you have thrown with some velocity, then it is going up, there is a time of ascending and there is a time of descending, and the relation between them they have given such that the mu value and n value. What is n here? Time of descent is n times time of ascent. So time of descending is greater compared to time of ascent. How much? N times. Then the relation between them this one. So you just try to prove it, or at least try to remember the formula. Now one more thing, if we project a block upward with u along incline, then distance covered on incline before coming to rest. So you thrown upward with some velocity, then what was the deceleration we decided just before? The deceleration was minus g into sin theta plus mu cos theta. So it will come to rest after traveling some distance, nothing but what? U square by 2 mu a, that is the stopping distance. That's it. That is what they are asking. To what distance it will climb up the inclined plane. And in that situation, they are asking after reaching top, it will start coming down. Then what is the ratio of initial and final velocity? That also they are asking. But v square minus u square equal to 2as, if you apply, v square is proportional to what? A, root A, sorry, A. So v proportional to root A. That's why your ratio of acceleration came. So just try to apply v square minus u square equal to 2as while going up as well as while coming down. Now here, see, till now we applied the force either to move or to stop along the incline. Now the question is, you apply the force along the horizontal, then you have to take components such that f cos theta, f sin theta. Then the condition is this one, to remain it at rest. Already it is able to slide down. Now you have to apply some force, but not along the inclined surface. You have to apply the force along horizontal such that the block should remain at rest. Then the condition is this one. Now, a block of mass m placed on rotating table. So this is one last and final thing. See here. Here there is a circular table rotating. So rotating means each and every point will experience some pseudo force m r omega square. Now here you placed one coin so that it try to move outward because of this centrifugal force. But who will prevent it? The static friction. And if the limiting static friction Fs max is greater than or equal to mr omega square, then the coin remains at rest. So that is the condition here they have taken. So what should be the omega value? Minimum omega value. That is what they can ask you. What should be the minimum omega for the turning table so that the coin placed at any distance or remains at rest? That is what the question. So like that, the questions can be asked based on the conservation of linear momentum, impulse and the loss of motion, application of loss of motion, finding acceleration, tension, normal reaction, and the circular motion based question, and the circular motion plus friction based questions, also friction based question, also block upon block cases, and motion on rough inclined surface and motion on rough horizontal surface. So lot of questions will be asked. So please try to understand each and every point. Whatever 30 points are there, whatever formulas I have shown you, all each and everything you try to solve, you try to practice, then everything is gonna fine. You can solve all the questions which are NEET and CET level, right? So thank you.